to the cloud. As we started thinking about SeGa and the research within SeGa, we started to think to implement the core ideas and the core science of scientific research. And this was actually a big challenge, how to implement a research-based entity within what's so-called profit, which is actually shifted to be a human community, social-based enterprise. There are actual challenge, especially when you deal with different volunteers and different perspectives and different educational backgrounds. And when it comes to research, you need to adapt, you need to apply, I need to shift from just core ideas and simple, straightforward ideas to very practical implementation ideas. So we started to focus on how to conduct and how to facilitate, how to start disseminating, not even the practice, but the way of thinking, how to start to capture the actual science within our experiments, within our applications, and within our projects, in order to conduct both actually applied and basic research. Applied means that you are measuring the actual experiments and the actual core implementation, and then to contribute to the core science by building a theory or contributing to a certain model. So starting from the core mission and vision of SeGa, we started to build our own way of thinking and vision of the scientific research in order to reach a certain selected circles of impact. Reaching different circles of impact were actually a challenge. You need to develop and to build the capacity of the team. So the first actual circle of impact for SeGa was their talents. How to ensure that we do have our own talents capable enough to think and to act and to apply scientific research, and then to our learners, and then to our clients or beneficiaries, let me say, and then to the public. And then we started to select some of our selected research deliverables in order to match each and every circle. For the SeGa talents, we started to focus on the awareness and the skills. For the learners, knowledge and the designing different solutions and different ideas in order to implement scientific research and to generate outcomes that's actually measured using an evidence-based research. And then to start transferring and disseminating this experience in a form of tools in order to enable others to conduct our own way of conducting research. And then almost the highest level to reach an impact factor scientific papers. Therefore, we built a very comprehensive design. I called it a circulatory system. This circulatory system actually composed of major two parts. The rectangle in black, this is an internal operations, while the outside and the external circle means our implemented projects. Within the black square, you can see there are major two, let me say, apartments or compartments that holds the thinking. We thought that we should dedicate a part for the design and measuring and evaluation, and then for the content, capturing from the actual science, and then building the research capacity that generates and integrates the design with the content. And then you can see those lines are actually not only lines or arrows, those are actual efforts, hours, and actual implementation, linking everything together. In order to reach this, we draw a roadmap started by the mindset, skill set, tool set, and reaching the ultimate outcome by certain selected tasks. So we moved through this roadmap by shifting the domains to a certain selected type of research, and then to a product or a deliverable, categorized to either a solution or a project, then reaching our tracks, our core tracks, LXF, LXD, coaching, learning experience, and then generating the designs that implement this in order to be implemented in different projects. And this is one of our major projects that generates a lot of research around it, and one of our major clients that should reach. And all over this roadmap, we are actually targeting a several spectrum intersecting with the core science, starting by capturing variables, which is the minimal component that influence each and every single step within scientific research. And we tried even to build our own constructs, linking variables together, and then linking constructs together. One of our concepts that's actually integrated set of variables are the RAR model, or the RAR concept, actually classified by science as concept within the first model. So first is a model that actually built upon different and several operations of integrating variables. And then we started to think deploying and applied the first step of scientific research by applying the applied research, started by defining our context, selecting the needed literature in green, and then designing our own, let me say, research approach and research design in order to start collecting and analyzing data. And then after accumulated several number of applied researches, we started to build our own either concept, either construct, or even first by derivatives, first in business, first in education, and first in several dimensions. And this is one of our generated scientific research maps where we consolidate each and every single component within our focus, like first LXF at the upper left corner, and then with the literature itself and what we are going to deliver. So building a research map that pave the road, what we do and where to be done and how to be linked with the science. Therefore, we started generating our own impact models and our own designs, linking several things and how to start integrating the several components and the several variables that generate a successful impact using the first framework. Even first framework itself, which is actually built using basic research, integrating and scanning scholarly papers and the science, and then generating a possible meta-analysis and systematic review linked with the actual practice in order to reach the first framework. Those are actually the layers that composed the first framework, started by a primary theoretical influence and the secondary influences from literature reviews, and generating the possible outcome that could be linked with the actual practice. And we, thanks God, successfully generated and delivered several scientific papers at the level of the basic research, the first framework itself, and then validating first in several, let me say, case studies and several implementations and several contexts, either using a several dimensions of a country-based or a project-based or several experiences. Even at the level of content, we started generating books or booklets, and both are actually powered by the generated basic and applied research. Those are actually part of the outcome of the SeGa Design Center deliverables at different levels, LXD, LXF, LSC, and the different levels of education, corporate, and the community. Therefore, the ability to conduct basic and applied research in what's so-called inductive, deductive, abductive scientific research in order to generate all possible deliverables from first and the LXD, LXF. This is a quick glance of our current deliverables at the level of blogs, case studies, short case studies, white papers, and the contributors from several countries and contexts, and our booklets, and actual 7 published scientific papers. Now the challenge is to convert all of this from the traditional form of departments, traditional form of physical presence, to the cloud, integrating actually several things, which is technology, the legacy, how to ensure the impact, how to ensure remote delivery of the same quality of science in order to generate the needed momentum of scientific research. Thank you for your patience, and sorry for taking much time. Hopefully it will be to the point and reflecting SeGa research efforts. Thank you, Brother.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Ashraf. And for people who attended with us first framework, life is easy, don't worry. This is all behind the scene. Yes. So we're still having some games and game-based learning and energizers and some activities. So those are things behind the scenes, so don't worry. And this is number 1 comment. My second comment is that we invited you to a research cloud meeting. So this is not a webinar, this is not a training session, this is not an active-based event. So this is the research language. But I will skip my second part. Actually, I was about to introduce our current research efforts, but since I took some more time in the welcome in the opening, and we are all eager to listen to our brother, mentor, senior L&D consultant, Dr. Roy. So I'll quickly give the mic and the share to Dr. Roy. Dr. Roy is the co-founder of the 6Ds company, and he put a title for himself is CLO. So he is the CLO and co-founder of the 6Ds company, and actually one of the main inventors, if not the main inventor of the 6D model. The 6Ds model I could consider is one of the best learning impact models or learning transfer models. And actually it's one of the main models that we base our first framework research on. And this is clearly stated in our first published paper. The number one first published paper, we stated this clearly, that the 6Ds model is one of the main mindset platforms or mindset models that helped a lot in the idea of the complete journey and the complete experience and the experience. So since we started to know more Dr. Roy, and we move forward to know more and more deeply inside the behind the scene of the 6Ds, as behind the scene of SeGa. So I was honored, and SeGa was honored to have the name of Dr. Roy on our cover of the research of the first framework book as the main forward consultant and expert that forwarded the book. So I'll give the mic and the share to Dr. Roy, and you have full 20 minutes, and welcome.
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me to be here to join this distinguished group of international learning professionals and researchers. That screen come up. All right. Given the pace of change in today's world, learning has never been more important for both adults and children. We need to keep learning to keep pace with change. And therefore, we need to make our teaching and learning more effective than it's been ever before. Research is the key to doing that, to making our teaching and learning more effective, just as medical research is key to finding new treatments and new vaccines. So I appreciate the work you're doing. I admire it. I enjoy the chance to share, and it's critically important to everything we do to understand better what works and what doesn't. So 18 years ago, we got interested in what we considered a critical research question, and that is, why do some learning initiatives produce much more value than others? Now, we thought that was an important thing to understand because not all learning is created equal. Learning, investments in training and development and education represent investments. It takes time and money. And the rationale for investing in education is that today there is some current level of performance. That might already be good, or it might be suboptimal, but the process begins with a current level of performance. Organizations invest in training and development with the goal of reaching a new and higher level of performance at both the individual level and at the organizational level. So what that means is that the real goal of education or training and development programs is to improve performance. It's not learning per se, but it's learning in a way that helps people perform better in their work and their lives. And therefore, learning's real value is how much it actually improves performance. It's not how much people learned or how much they enjoyed the event. It's how much we actually changed performance. Now, most of our work is in the business world. So in the 60s, we tend to use business language, but clearly these principles, just like first ADLX, apply to all kinds of learnings. So if we teach teachers the first framework, did it in fact improve their ability to teach? Now, we know that some programs are more effective than others. So if we were to look at the value that organizations get from their investments in training and development, from essentially no value to very great value, and then we were to simply look at the number of organizations around the world, what we'd find is that, of course, most organizations get average value. Some get very great, some get very poor value. The point is that if your competitor is here, and your competitor might be another company, your competitor might be another school or another country, if your competitor is just average, but you can understand how to extract greater value from the investment in training than your competitor, then you have just created a competitive advantage because you get greater value for the same investment as they do. Now, when we began looking at what differentiates high from low value training, what we had hoped is that we would identify one magic bullet, the one thing that effective organizations do that less effective organizations don't. Well, I'm sorry to report, but you won't be surprised to learn there is no one magic bullet. There is no one thing that differentiates high value learning from low value learning. Just like the first ADLX framework, what we found instead was that you need to pay attention to many aspects of the learning experience to be successful. And what we found as we looked at the literature before the creation of the first framework was we identified 6 things that needed to be done routinely and well in order for training or learning education to be successful. And so because of the need for consistency, we called them the disciplines, the 6 disciplines. So let me introduce them to you here briefly, and then concentrate primarily here on D2 and its relationship to ADLX and the first framework. So the first discipline we identified is that successful learning initiatives always begin by defining the performance outcomes. So not just the learning objectives, what people will learn, but what will they do with it and how will that actually improve performance. The second discipline, which we'll speak about more today, is to design the complete experience. So the instruction, of course, but also what happens before and after instruction, as I'll show, make a great difference in whether the learning adds value or not. The third discipline we call deliver for application. And what that means is to focus, to choose instructional methods and strategy that generate an active, deep learning experience, because it's only deep learning that truly adds value. The fourth discipline that needs to be practiced to maximize the value of learning is to drive learning transfer. That is, to put in place systems of support and accountability that encourage people, in fact, really hold them accountable for applying what they learned. The fifth discipline is to deploy performance support. That is, make sure people have the job aids, the coaching, the encouragement they need to be successful. And the sixth discipline is to evaluate the results in ways that both prove and improve performance. So those are the 6 disciplines, and you can see many parallels to the first framework. Let me speak then today specifically about D2, which we call design the complete experience. Almost every organization does a good job of designing instruction, but it turns out that instruction is only a part of the learner's complete experience. So, two key concepts from D2 that I want to highlight today. The first is that learning is a process. It is not an event. It takes place over time and it involves multiple steps. Now, every organization consists of many processes. Every process has three parts: some sort of input that initiates the process, operations on that input to produce an output of higher value. So that's fundamentally every process begins with input, processes that, some kind of operation to produce an output. In the case of learning, those three steps are to learn new skills. The key operation then is to transfer that learning to a job or to a life skill, in the case of students, in order to improve performance. So those are the three steps. If we think then of learning as a process, we can bring to bear the techniques and methods of process improvement that have been so important in business and manufacturing and begin to apply those to the learning process. In order to do that, we need the research on what are the key variables that determine the process output. Second key concept of D2 that I want to highlight today is that the process of learning, the learner's complete experience, includes much more than the instruction. It includes what happens before, during, and afterward. Now, as you know from the work of SeGa and from Joe Pine's book, we're moving increasingly into an experience economy, in which what people buy is not just a meal or a trip, it's the whole experience. It's everything that surrounds that purchase. That's what people buy. And therefore, to be successful in the experience economy, you must design and execute everything so that every aspect of that experience is positive. In the case of learning, that means really thinking about the complete journey from the current level of performance to the new and higher level of performance. And we like to think of that journey as taking place in 4 stages. There is the preparation. There is the instruction itself, the formal or structured learning. There is then a critical and much longer period in which that learning is now transferred to the work of the individual or to life skills of the student, so that they then achieve goals that are important to them and to the organization. Well, that's where the first framework and the 6 Ds come together. The design of learning initiatives must incorporate the learner's complete experience, and it must be designed to foster deep, active learning. Now, with respect to that, let me ask, what do we mean by learner experience? Well, quoting from the first framework book, any interaction, course, program, or other experience in which learning takes place. Right. If you accept that, that's what we mean by the learner experience, then the question is this: when does the learner's experience of a particular course or program begin? How would you answer that question? I suppose we may not have time to have it as a discussion, but I'm going to pause for a minute and ask you to think for yourself. When does the learner's experience begin? Well, I hope that you concluded that it begins long before the instruction. In fact, my experience of a learning initiative begins as soon as I hear about it. That might be by reading an invitation or a course description, or it could be what I hear about it from my coworkers or friends or gossip. It's just like your experience of a new restaurant begins when it's recommended by a friend, or you see an advertisement, or you look up the menu online, or you read other people's reviews. That begins to set your expectations, and it's all part of the experience. This has to do with something in psychology called the priming principle. And the priming principle is that what you hear or think about and experience beforehand affects your actual experience of that experience. So in other words, if you come to a learning opportunity feeling like a prisoner, then that learning opportunity is going to feel like a prison sentence. Okay? The point is, first impressions matter. So if we have two learners come to the same program, the first learner comes with high expectations. They've been encouraged to go by their manager or by the principal of their school. They expect a great learning. It's likely that they'll leave with a positive learning experience. Whereas another learner who comes to exactly the same program, but with a negative attitude, low expectations, perhaps their manager discouraged them from going or they've had a bad experience with learning in the past, then they can go to exactly the same program and leave with a negative experience. So the practical application of that is that we need to do a better job of priming, using the priming effect, to encourage people to come with a positive attitude, with an enthusiasm, with a desire to learn. And we can do that by writing great descriptions. We can stress the benefits for them, how they'll be able to use what they learn, not just what they'll learn, but its benefit. We can use testimonies. We basically have to market what we do because we want people to come with a positive attitude, because that alone will make the training more effective. They'll participate more. They'll have a better experience. Now, same question, but applying to the other end of the training. When do you think we should consider that a learner has completed a training program or course? When have they really finished the learning program? Well, in most organizations, it's right at the end of class. Or if it's e-learning, it's when they've passed the quiz or they may have passed a test. But we think that the course isn't really finished until they've applied it on a job in a way that improved their performance. That's because the results that an organization or a school enjoys are the product that is the multiplication of how much people learned times how much they transferred. In other words, if the learning event is superb, it is well designed, it is well taught, people, on a scale of 10, it's a 10 out of 10. But if people leave that learning opportunity and return to their jobs and don't apply any of it, for whatever reason, they don't apply any of it, then the results that the organization and the individual will realize are zero. So if we truly want to optimize the impact of learning, then we need to optimize both the learning and the amount of transfer. We can't ignore that critical transfer period, which suggests that we need to think about moving the finish line for learning. As I said, in most organizations, the old finish line or the current finish line is still that you got to the end of class or you got to the end of the e-learning. But in fact, what we need to do is redefine the new finish line as you have not completed the training until you've actually applied it on the job. See, the current system in which we give credit at the end of class sends completely the wrong message. It says to people, you're done, that attending the program was the goal. No, attending the program is not the goal. The real work begins when the class ends. The real work is of taking what you just learned, those new skills, those new insights, and now applying them on the job or to your life's work. So the real work begins when the class ends, and we need to signal that to people by making completion of the course dependent on demonstrating that you did something with it. So for example, if we teach the first ADLX framework to a group of teachers, then they haven't really completed the course until they can show how they took that information, how they took those new skills and applied them in a way that improved their performance. If we teach students a new skill, then they haven't really finished the course until they've shown that they've been able to apply it to something outside of class to solve a problem or accomplish a task. Now, what's a case example of doing this? I've chosen one here. This comes from Steve Rosenbaum. His company is called Learning Paths International, paths being journey. And Steve's philosophy is we need to think about the complete journey. So this was a group of healthcare workers. They take care of disabled patients. It was taking about 9 months to get an employee ready to be fully proficient in caring for patients. So Steve met with the organization, and they began by first defining what do we mean by proficiency? What does performance actually look like? Then they looked at the current learning path, or journey as we would call it. And that the whole journey includes everything, not just the formal training, but the on-the-job experiences, the coaching, the mentoring, everything is part of that journey because it's all part of the learner's experience. They then looked for places where they could improve, accelerate that journey, eliminate redundancy, and so forth. Well, the results were this. They were able to decrease the time it took to get a new employee to complete proficiency from 9 months to 2 months. Simultaneously, that doubled the retention of new employees. And that's proven to be generally true. The more quickly you can get an employee up to speed and contributing, the more likely they will stay with the organization because they feel they're contributing. And by doing so, they improve the quality of care. So thinking about and designing and managing the complete experience has terrific opportunities to improve the overall learning effectiveness. So what have we said in this session? Learning creates value only when it's actually applied in a way that improves performance. Whether that learning gets applied and how well it gets applied depends on the complete learner's experience, which starts before instruction and continues long afterwards. So since this is a research group, I thought I would pose some questions that I'm fascinated by for you to think about for future research projects. What actually influences attitude? How does that attitude affect training effectiveness? What facilitate application afterwards and what impedes it? And if we could gain insight into those questions, then we'd be able to make what we do have even greater social educational impact. So, have we time for some questions or do we need to move on? Is there a question for me?
We are ready for a few questions from 5 to 10 minutes. So the first question in the chat area is by Sister Dini from Indonesia. And I think she wants to start answering the research questions from now. So she's saying, what is the best way to follow up the training to guarantee the performance afterwards?
Mm-hmm. The first and simplest thing we need to do is simply to remind people. If you think about advertising, why does a company like McDonald's, everyone knows who they are, why do they continue to advertise? Because they know if they don't continue to advertise, they lose share of mind. Well, if we don't remind people to put in place new skills and knowledge, then they're busy, they'll forget. And so the simplest thing is to begin to remind people. In a business setting, we need to get the managers involved. And we need to make completion of the course dependent on actually using what they learn. So there are 3 ideas.
Okay, thank you. The second question from Bernd from France. How to deal with negative priming principles that are outside the facilitator's influence?
Unfortunately, there are negative influences. Could be bad experience in the past. It could be the manager or the principal of the school who says, oh, you have to go to training again, which immediately sets a negative tone. even having your supervisor say nothing is negative, because if your manager says nothing, it can't be too important. So I think we control what we control. Let us make sure that we create as positive a pre-learning experience as we can. So we write a great description of our program, stressing the benefits. We write a compelling invitation. We teach managers that saying something positive will give them, that is their department, more value. We admit that there's some things we can't control, but we make sure that everything we do control, we make as positive as we can.
Okay, thank you. Those are only 2 questions on the chat area. I do believe some of the people could ask some questions by microphone. So if anyone wants to take the mic to ask, we can have 1 or 2 more questions. And if I will not see anyone raising hands, I will ask people and call their names.
This is active deep learning.
Yeah, this is not active, not deep. This is not safe environment at all. So I have a quick question, since most of the people here are even facilitators or master facilitators for FIRST framework, and some of them are researchers for the FIRST framework as well. So we are talking about the difference between performance outcomes and the learning outcomes. And we emphasize on this on the T domain of the FIRST, the transforming domain. So if you can give some more insights about the difference between learning outcomes and performance outcomes would be great.
Okay, so the 2 main differences between performance outcomes and learning outcomes, in our opinion, is that a typical learning objective begins like this. At the end of this training, or at the end of this course, so learning objectives tend to focus on the end of class or the end of training. But as an organization leader, I don't care about the end of class. I care about on the job or in real life. So the first difference is the focus. Is the focus on what they can do at the end of class, or is the focus what they can do afterwards as they do their jobs or conduct their lives? So the first difference is we should focus on what are they actually going to do with what they've learned. The second thing, if you continue the way that Robert Mager taught us to write learning objectives, at the end of this course, the learner will be able to. Again, I was a business leader. I invested in training. I don't care what the employees will be able to do. What I care about is what will they do and how will it help our organization or our school or our country. So the big difference is, instead of writing what people will be able to do at the end of class, we should talk about what will they do after the training and how will that help them or the organization. Now, don't get me wrong, you still need learning objectives, but you should start with what is the performance objective. What do people need to be able to do or accomplish? And then ask, what do they have to learn in order to achieve that? So you need both, but start always with the performance objective.
Okay, thank you. I would like to, I was about to finish these questions with Dr. Ashraf's question, but a new question popped up from Dr. Noha Nagy. So how can the organizational leader, Dr. Noha is doing, finished already her master's degree in organization leadership in schools. So the question is about organization. How can the organizational leader examine the impact of the performance in the organization? Question mark. I mean, what is after knowing the performance outcomes? Mm-hmm. So the real evidence you mean, or related to the evidence of performance more than just writing the outcomes?
Right. So you must begin, if you're going to evaluate the impact of learning, then you have to start with what performance do you expect? What are you trying to achieve for the organization? So everything must begin with a clear definition of what you hope to achieve. Then you can begin to ask the question of what evidence could we gain that would show us that we've achieved that? And there you have to make trade-offs between cost and effectiveness and believability. There you should reach out to measurement experts like Dr. Ashraf and ask, well, if I wanted to demonstrate this, how could I do it? We don't have to be experts in everything. But what we have to do is be clear about what we were trying to accomplish, and because then we can have the experts help us. What evidence can we gather? What would be the best techniques to do that?
Okay, we have to jump into the next case study, but there is an important question since my brother Ahmed Zurkani said +1, so I have to mention the question. A question by both Mr. Dini from Indonesia and Mr. Ahmed, Dr. Ahmed from American University in Cairo. So the question is, what is the basic difference in training if the training only achieves the learning outcomes, and if the training can achieve the performance outcomes?
Well, speaking as a business leader, if you achieve the learning outcomes, but it does not help our organization, then you failed. So I think the difference between achieving learning objectives only and achieving performance objectives is the difference between failure and success. And I'm very clear about that.
Okay.
I'm not interested. I am not interested in investing in a program that only achieves learning objectives. The only reason for any organization, school, country, company, to invest in learning is to help people perform better in their lives and at work.
Okay, thanks.
I'm pretty blunt about that.
I will try to do my best not to change the hat from facilitator to presenter. So I am facilitator, I'm facilitator. So the last question or the last insight from Dr. Ashraf is saying, in quick insights, how do you see the future of 6Ds and first? I'm not quite sure if the question is saying 6Ds and first means together or 6Ds and first. So you have the freedom to choose whatever the question is and answer it.
Well, when I read the first book, I realized, and I said it in the foreword, how close our thinking is, that these are principles that apply to all kinds of learning in all countries, in companies, in schools. I mean, these are principles that should be applied. I think they will continue to evolve, probably even getting closer together as we continue to learn more based on the kind of research you're doing. So both frameworks should grow richer and deeper as we begin to really investigate with good research the specific questions and understand, of all the moving parts in a learning program, which ones can we influence that will have the greatest impact to help our students and the societies in which we live.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Roy, and would like to spend more and more time with you around the 6Ds. And of course, there are 6Ds in relation with first, but we have to move forward to see how SeGa actually invested in the complete journey, looking for how to measure and evaluate and building case studies even after 2 years of the training, in some cases, and some cases more than 2 years, following up the case and how this is implemented in different countries. So we are following the philosophy and the model and the mindset and the tool set of the 6Ds, of looking for the performance and measuring and evaluating and generating case studies. And actually, we now publish almost every Thursday. Every week we publish a case study from one of the countries. But one of the very important case studies from our sister Hanan Shakir from Lebanon. And I would like to welcome here Dr. Amal Farhat from Lebanon as well. She was the previous event guest speaker. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bahjat. It's a pleasure to be among you.
Yeah, the pleasure is to have our Lebanese brothers and sisters with us, looking for research in this situation. So we are looking forward with a positive spirit, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So I'll give the share and mic to our sister Hanan. This case study of what did she do as a master facilitator, taking first back from Roots project to the implementation in her school, which is called Afuq al-Jadid School in Lebanon. And she will take us across the impact story or impact journey as a case study. What did she do to transfer this into the school, and having the complete school right now are certified facilitators with FIRST, and the complete school are transformed to use the FIRST framework in this around 1.5 or 2 years. So I don't want to talk more about the Afuq al-Jadid because I do admire and I like this case study. I'll give the mic to our sister Hanan.
Thank you, Mr. Bahjat. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you see my screen. I'll talk about how about the teacher learning transformation, implementing FIRST ADLX at Afuq al-Jadid School. First, I will start with an introduction, application of FIRST ADLX in soft skills facilitations, transferring FIRST ADLX framework, then transferring LXC coaching and online learning, then reflections. I'm Hanan Shakir, math teacher and supervisor at Afuq al-Jadid School from Saiga, Lebanon, and FIRST ADLX master facilitator. First, talking about my school, introducing my school, its mission is to be always a pioneer in creating a distinguished educational environment in our community in order to prepare an individual disciplined, patriotic, passionate about their culture, and fully equipped with the 20th century skills, lifelong learner. And talking about the FIRST ADLX framework, it's a holistic pedagogical program. It helps to transform teachers into educators and agents of change who can cultivate the 21st century skills along with moral and ethical values. And this is done through designing and facilitating a complete, active, deep learner experience. Talking next about how I applied FIRST ADLX in soft skills facilitation. And I would like to share you the impact on teachers during facilitations and later on in their own applications, and the impact, of course, consequently the impact on learners' performance. Starting with the impact on teachers during facilitations, they were totally engaged in the facilitations, and they always gave me positive feedback. One of the feedback I still remember was from a physics teacher who said that it's the best workshop I've ever attended. She called it workshop. When she started, we're talking about here about just soft skills, not transferring FIRST ADLX. And another one said that the positive energy overwhelmed her throughout the whole day. An English teacher said that we took no notice of time. We spent about 4.5 hours with no break at all, just through trying to engage them and activate them through energizers. And the impact during facilitations, and this I would like to mention here what Dr. Roy has just said, that the real work begins when the class ends. And in fact, that's what happened in their applications. They started without knowing the real behaviors of FIRST framework. They started imitating what they learned in the facilitations with openers, energizers, activities, engaging learners. And I'd like to give an example of a somehow resistive teacher. She was, as a student, she was an A+ student. She said there's no need for all these activities. Learners, it's their job to do their effort and to learn with, we don't have to engage them, to do any effort to engage them. In fact, it took her some time to start to change her mindset, and in order to do activities, engaging activities, active, deep learner activities for her students. As for the impact on learners' performance, I'd like to share this result. This stunning result in some 7th graders in math, that was in 2017, and that was after the teacher attended some of the soft skills. I'd like to notice that I'd like you to notice that I just selected some grades. These are not all the grades of the class. And I want you to notice the difference before first and after first, how they improved in their performance. And actually, I'd like to focus on this learner who was a low achiever. She used to get 44 as an average in math. And that student was a careless one. She didn't do her assignment. She didn't even concentrate at the class. The teacher started to focus on her behavior, and she noticed that that student has social skills, and that student likes activities a lot. So what she did with this student is that she spent some time with her during recess, encouraging her and telling her, would you like to facilitate activities for your classmates? She targeted 2 things that the student really liked: activities and facilitating for her classmates. And alhamdulillah, the result was amazing. Her performance in math was stunning. And of course, the teacher exerted some effort, but alhamdulillah, she got great results. This is regarding application of soft skills. As for transferring first ADLX, which was the next step, I did 4 transfers for 60 educators, and the first one, for the first group, it was mixed group from all cycles. As for the other 3 groups, they were categorized due to their cycles. And in fact, the follow-up plan was not easy at all. Not easy at all to follow up with 60 teachers, in addition to my own duty as a teacher and supervisor. With the first group, what I did is that I checked the session design. I attended the facilitation session with the teacher. Then I did one-to-one coaching session, and she set her own action plan. And alhamdulillah, there was gradual follow-up for her own action plan, and I was greatly supported by the coordinators themselves in this case. I'd like to share you here the impact on educators and administrators as well. Here, talking about a KG English language teacher, she said that one of the most impactful moments during the workshop was at that moment when the facilitator asked us to prepare a session design. I felt the development and the change in the session design that happened in my way of thinking, regardless of the years of expertise. Another philosophy teacher that has a master's in economical and social development, she says that first ADLX contributes in changing the students' attitude. It supported me in dealing with the students' personalities, because one of the main goals of first ADLX is focusing on the students' attitude change. And here, as again, in first ADLX, we focus a lot, and the priority is for the attitude. It has the priority rather than skill and knowledge. And that is seen and noticed by the teachers. An example of physics teacher, she said that I will start taking attitude into consideration in my outcomes. And I'd like here to focus on what an English language teacher and English supervisor, how she designed her session plan, and look how at the way she set her learning outcomes, starting with the attitude. She says, learners will be able to foster attitudinal and behavioral changes in them, incorporating human rights into their values. Learners will be able to employ skills such as critical thinking, teamwork, peaceful conflict resolution, etc. Impact, as for the impact on administrators, the meetings have become more oriented and structured in a way that they follow the flow of the flow of the meeting. Starts with an opener, includes a linking and summarizing, energizer, closure, that we weren't accustomed to such meetings in our school. And we had a community of practice. Teachers and peers started to, peer teachers started to support each other. They started to attend each other's sessions, give feedback, positive and constructive, exchange thoughts and ideas about various teaching methods. This cooperative spirit was dominant among all teachers, irrespective of the teaching subject. I still remember when I entered the teacher's lounge, and I will never forget how I saw an English language teacher with a physics teacher discussing different openers and activities. This was very, very supportive. And we had the WhatsApp groups due to the teachers, according to their cycles, they exchange ideas of activities and their best practices. Here are some photos of the students. I'd like you to see the first one to the left, the upper left one. Here, a math teacher, after explaining the perimeter and area in grade 4, she asked the students to bring their photos to school. So they said, what's the need of bringing our photos? And then she asked them to calculate the perimeter of the frame of their photos. They liked this activity. It seems a very simple activity, but they liked it a lot. They felt engaged. They felt that this belongs to them. And here in this activity, I'd like you to notice this. Here it's the same class, the same session, the same teacher. She's applying differentiated instruction with the students. Students of different group members, due to their own needs, they're having different activities, different worksheets. And here students are positive feedback to each other. Here, as we all believe that we believe in transforming learning into performance. Here, students went in a visit to a historical place, and they in their history session, in the history subject, and they came trying to make designs. The teacher integrated arts with history. They tried to make designs similar to the ones that they saw in that historical place, and they started doing them, but that wasn't finished because of a quarantine period. Here, learners having a booknick outside the school, reading books in order to make them love reading and working on their attitude regarding this one. Now, moving to transferring LXC coaching, in fact, there was only one transfer for 14 educators, and that was because the priority was to transfer first ADLX to all school educators, so I didn't have time only for one transfer. Inshallah, later on, this should be transferred to each and every educator. And every educator here, she did an one-to-one coaching session with one or more learner. They did it more than once. And by the end, I followed up all that. And by the end, I had a group coaching for those two teachers. And I'd like to share with you the impact on educators and learners. As for educators, an academic controller said that after attending LXC, she said that I've become more human-centric than task-oriented. And one of the learners commented saying, I've become 1,000 times better than before. Now I know my goal and what I should do, how to deal with the problem, and how to react to it. When it came as for the quarantine period and we started the online learning period, it was a shock for all of us. We're not accustomed to online sessions and to how to deal with the technology in such cases. Of course, we know how to deal with technology when we're in class, face-to-face with the students. But teaching online or virtual teaching was not easy at all. But we have to keep in mind the importance of engaging our learners. We still need and strive for making our learners undergo an active, deep learner experience. So, and keeping in mind that the importance of pedagogy before technology. So we had 2 sessions discussing how would we implement first ADLX during online sessions. And here, this is one of our sessions, and here a teacher, after delivering, she sent a screenshot after delivering her own session, and she said that she tried to apply it and the students enjoyed the session a lot. And one of the students commented that I don't really like online classes, but this one, it was fun. True, I didn't talk about it. That was at the very beginning. and that student was a really shy one. As for some, I'd like to share with you some reflections and insights from a third grade student. She said it wasn't easy at all to bear quarantine. I missed my best friends, the smile of my teachers, and she said that she missed the memorable joy. As for a parent, she said that quarantine was a new situation that was really challenging with my child. What helped us overcome the challenges was the great support from the hardworking teachers. And another parent says that Al-Afaq Al-Jadid is a modern school that's mainly concerned about building the learner's personality to face life challenges. It encourages and prepares learners to participate in international competitions. My daughter loves the school and favors school days over holidays. And I'd like to end my presentation with a thank you note from our school principal that emphasizes that first ADLX framework is a innovative and developing a program that has made a great difference, adding a new growth mindset among the school community where all educators, administrators, learners, and parents have started talking the same language. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you a lot, Sister Hanan. Again, this is a good proof that we are following up for more than 1.5 or 2 years in one case, because Sister Hanan was the one with the direct interface with SeGa. Then we try to look forward for the teachers and even the students and administrators and leaders of the school. So we have right now a case studies coming from the teachers that got first framework from our expert Hanan, and we published 2 weeks back or 3 weeks, I'm not quite sure, 2 or 3 weeks back, we published a complete case study from the history teacher that Sister Hanan mentioned her case. So we even have case studies from the teacher from the school that we didn't even SeGa met before with them. So this is a good proof. We have around 8 minutes for questioning. So I'll get 6 to 7 minutes from the everyone if you want to ask. And I'll give 1 minute for Dr. Roy by the end to give some insights about the case study. And Dr. Ashraf as well, of course. But Dr. Ashraf is preparing the case with Hanan, so if any questions for Sister Hanan, we are welcoming. And while waiting for questions, I do want to apologize for people asking in the chat for Dr. Roy. So I'm apologizing for Sister Lina, Zamzam, Mr. Muhammad Saeed, Sister Fitriani, Mr. Ahmed Muqas. Those are questions, but we didn't have such time for asking Dr. Roy. So I'm very sorry for the time and hope to try to collect those questions if we can get answers after that. So
if you want to send those to me, I'll be happy to answer them.
So I didn't want to say this, but this is a promise from Dr. Roy. We will collect the questions and we'll send them to Dr. Roy and we'll wait for the answers, inshallah. So there is a statement here from our Sister Lina. Very impressive results. Well done. Sister Fatma. Yes, Sister Fatma is a math teacher as well. So that was a good case study. So thank you, Sister Hanan. It's so positive. Dr. Noha, very impressive and informative. A question here from Dini as well. How did you follow up teachers' performance after the training? Is there any standard of how teachers applied first in their class? So this is a mixed question between the 6 Ds and first. So the question is, how did you see or measure the performance of teachers in your school? So Sister Hanan, if you want to answer, you are muted.
She's asking, how did I follow up teachers' performance after the training? In fact, I said that it wasn't easy at all. And first of all, for some teachers, I checked their session design and I gave them feedback regarding the session design before I attended the class. After I attended the class, of course, I have to move gradually with the students. Those that are some needed more support than others. For those that were already good educators, in fact, I didn't focus on them. I focused more on those who need more help and more support. I facilitated the sessions, I attended their facilitations. I gave them, I helped them set their own action plan, and I asked for the support from the coordinators to help me. Supervisors and coordinators played an important role in giving advice and in following up with these teachers.
Okay, thank you. A question here from question from from Dr. Roy. Which elements from the first framework did the teachers find most valuable? So what are the most valuable domains or principles that our teachers find valuable? Which did they find the most challenging to implement? So the most valuable and most challenging.
What was approximately totally new, the one reviewing actively. We used to do activities, and that's it. Okay, the students are having fun. It's okay. I achieved as a teacher. They think that we achieved the learning outcome. But what I learned from first framework, the importance of active reviewing, not any kind of reviewing, active reviewing. And another thing that was very important, transforming learning into performance, as you just, Dr. Rai, as you just said, the importance that we take what we learn, transforming the learning into performance, focusing on performance outcomes, not only just on any learning outcomes. Those was very important for teachers to focus on, and they exerted more effort than others in doing them. Most of them are already experienced focusing on learners' behavior, doing activities, applying interaction with the interacting, learning into the I domain, the interacting one. But the more important, or the most valuable for them was the reviewing actively and the transforming learning into performance. The most challenging for them to implement was to make the students the reflection, I think, the reflection one, how to apply reflection to reality. Usually, teachers used to give, for example, examples from their own. It was not easy. It was a little bit challenging for the teachers to pull such examples from students, and invite them to think in this reflective way.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Another question from Mr. Abdullah, Dr. Abdullah Suji from Saudi Arabia. Is there a big difference between online education and attendance education while using FIRST framework? I'm not quite sure, is this a question to SeGa or a question to Sister Hanan? But I'll give the question to Sister Hanan. How did you find the difference between online and offline education using FIRST framework?
In fact, it is really challenging. This part is really challenging, the online learning. And as we know, the experience that we want our learners to undergo an active deep learning experience, it's not only via the Zoom session, it's throughout the whole journey. So we followed up our learners before, during the session, and after the session. We had the WhatsApp groups, we have the online session, we have the Google Classroom, and we tried to respond to their needs as much as we can to help them be engaged, to help them feel that this learning is not far. It's as if it is very one close to a real one, to face to. It was challenging, but the teachers exerted efforts throughout this. I said focusing on them, having one-to-one communication with some students, and during the online session, they tried to engage them. And sometimes the students were the ones facilitating some parts. They were trusting them that you can do some jobs on your own during the session itself.
Okay, again, I do want to apologize if I'm not following that much quite good on the chat. I'm trying to pick up some of the questions and statements. Our sister Rusdiana from India saying that, mashallah, great Sister Hanan. I will give you 2 questions in one because the time is about to finish. So I'll get 2 questions from the chat, but give it to you as 1 question. How many students can use FIRST framework in the class? Or in your case, how many students were there in the class? And another question related, how do you apply coaching in your school? This is from Brother Rudy from Indonesia, and the first one from Brother Muhammad Saeed from Egypt.
In fact, we don't have a great number of students in class. Yeah, there's no less than 30 in a class. Sometimes in some classes it's 10. When I talk about secondary classes and even in KGs, we don't have that big number of students in our classes. So this is for the first question. The second one, how we apply coaching in our school. It was not easy because only 14 educators attended Alexis. They did the coaching during recess time. But I said that we can benefit from the online sessions as we get accustomed to start. We can have Zoom meeting session with our students to have coaching sessions with them. But in school, it happened during recess.
Okay, again, thanks a lot, Sister Hanan. I'll give 1 minute for Dr. Ashraf. He's raising his hand. So, Dr. Ashraf, this is not a panel discussion. So, this is not a defense for master or PhD thesis.
Can do it here with Dr. Roy. Can do it. I can do it here.
Dr. Ashraf.
Yeah, just to clarify, a simple note that at FIRST framework, we do have domains, principles, and behaviors. And therefore, you can adapt and you can customize the behaviors in different way, either in a context which is a physical presence in regular classrooms, or nowadays and mostly the next coming wave of an online, maybe interactive, and maybe different technologies that would be embedded within classrooms. So please, let's go for a different adaptation. And actually, one of the good news now that we are working on an adaptation or adaptational model to define the context where you are conducting your educational learning experience or educational learning project. So it would give you the possibility to adjust and to capture the actual environment and the actual context. Therefore, it would be reflecting on the possible selected behaviors to adapt FIRST successfully. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. I want to clarify this and to send a quick message as to for our cloud as well. We are preparing, yes, for next phase of case studies to be more contextualized. So we want, starting from 2021, to gather case studies in different contexts. So context could be subject, could be age group, could be online, offline, synchronous, asynchronous. So defining the context by itself, there is a published or semi-published model by Dr. Ashraf called the 9 elements of context design, something like this, regarding the problem definition, since he is teaching
context analysis. Context analysis.
Yes, the analysis. Analysis. So this is a model for defining the problem definition in business research. We are trying to adapting it to education research and to follow up on it by adding some case studies per context very soon, inshallah. So finally, Dr. Roy, you have 1 minute, and please, brothers from Tanzania, prepare yourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. I put my comment in chat, but as I said, Sister Hanan, very impressive results. I particularly liked it that you brought several lines of evidence to support the case result. Not only some quantitative evidence, the change in scores, and a before and after design is quite a strong design. So that to me was very solid evidence, but also the observational evidence that you brought, particularly the change in behavior. So to see the teachers interacting differently with each other and then with their students and reporting their personal pride and success in the change in interaction is very impressive, because after all, to change performance, we first need people to change their behaviors. So as an organizational leader, when you can present to me clear evidence of behavioral change, I know that we're on the right path. So excellent work and very impressive, nice example of a case study. Well done.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
We are moving towards the Tanzania case study with our brother, Dr. Baraka Kondo from Dodoma University, Faculty of Education, and our brother Zinka Bakari. And I know that Zinka one day was a student with Dr. Baraka in the master class or undergraduate, I'm not quite sure. So we have two, Dr. Baraka and his student Zinga, conducting quick research. Not quick actually, it's a very deep research. One of the reasons it's very deep because I visited Tanzania in this school, and I I was there seeing and interviewing different people inside the school. So I'll give the mic and the chair to our brothers, Dr. Baraka and Mr. Zinga.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Bahagat, and all the SeGa Cloud research, and we feel honored as usual that we have been very lucky from our country and from our continent as well, that we are participating in the Global Forum of Research in this new era of education, where we have the learner's experience as something that is the most trending now in the world. So this is a great honor, and we express our gratitude. And perhaps you might have noticed that my voice isn't very good today. And I would like to welcome my brother Zinga to take you through the case study. And I'll be just around, especially on the Q&A session, that I'll try to have my share in sharing the experiences we're having in our school that is called Rahma School, which we're experiencing the active deeper experience under first framework, at least for it's close to 30 years now. So we have significant things to share from our part. And if you won't mind, let me welcome Brother Zinga, whom I see is preparing his screen for sharing. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. Our brother Zinga is sharing his screen, and I would like to encourage all of you to prepare questions for Dr. Baraka. He's trying to keep his voice for the Q&A, so prepare the questions for this Q&A session. Zinga.
Yes, thank you so much. Feeling very much honored, as mentioned by my teacher, as well as my brother. So dear participants, welcome to the case studies from Tanzania. We have learning transformation using fast ADLX through dual qualitative, ethnographic, and narrative methodology. So this is the case of Rahma School in Tanzania. So we welcome you all. Regarding to the presentation outline, we'll have the first ADLX in Tanzania. How did we find ourselves swimming and floating in the ADLX in Tanzania? Then the Tanzanian...
please, can you put a full screen?
Okay.
Will be easier for us to follow. Because I can see some people on the mobile, so it will be better for them.
All right, now?
Not much, but it's okay.
It's okay. Okay, so our presentation outline regarding the first ADLX in Tanzania, then Tanzania case studies, and we'll have Rahma School. I will pass through research questions, methodology, interview sessions, observation, major findings and major themes, and conclusion about the case study. About the speakers, we have Brother Zinga speaking now. I'm a teacher in Teachers Training College, as well as serving as Director, Department of Education, and also first ADLX Master Facilitator. And the next speaker is Dr. Baraka Kondo, who is also my teacher, a lecturer of Education Psychology in University of Dodoma, also formerly coordinator of teaching practice in the whole university, as well as first ADLX Master Facilitator. So we'll take you through the first ADLX in Tanzania. As we all know that the first ADLX framework is a unique pedagogical tool that focuses on creating a deep impact on educational systems worldwide and open a new era of education compliant with the 21st century learning through designing and facilitating active deep learner experience. The first ADLX, I mean the first framework also, was designed and developed by SeGa Group, a research-based entity established in the USA. The introduction of the program in Tanzania was funded by NAMA Foundation during the development of Tanzanian first framework master trainers under the global initiative known as Roadmap of Outstanding Educators. Tanzanian case studies. Regarding to the Tanzanian case studies, the writing up and gathering information under the case studies was inspired by the visit of our dearest brother, Mohammed Bagat, the CEO, SeGa, and also the founder of SeGa. He visited our country, Tanzania, from 3rd November to 10th, 2019. And in his visit, he met with certified master trainers of First ADLX, also visited the Ministry of Education and 4 different schools in 4 different regions. And the aim of this case study is to discover the transformational results and impact of First ADLX in Tanzanian school. So the current case studies in Tanzania, we have the Rahma School in the Dodoma region. Dodoma is our capital city. We have a San School in Dar es Salaam region, Ubungo School in Dar es Salaam, Al Falah School in Zanzibar, and As-Salaf School in Arusha region. But for our case today, we'll talk and discuss about the Rahma School. So this is a primary school located in the capital city, as I said, in Dodoma. And it's one of the schools implementing First ADLX framework for 2 years now. And the case study shows that the school is under significant transformation to a comprehensive nurturing institution. So this is talking about the Rahma, and in the case studies, we had 5 research questions. 1, what is the impact of First ADLX framework on teachers' experience as learners during Roots Professional Development Program? Research question 2, what is the perception of teachers about the relevance of First ADLX framework as teachers' professional development program? Research question 3, what is the impact of First ADLX framework on teachers after finishing the Roots Professional Development Program? 4, what's the impact of applying First ADLX framework on students' experience? And 5, what is the impact of applying First ADLX framework on schools and educational organization? So about the methodology, how did we gather the information? I mean, the data. The study was exploratory and aimed at revealing teachers' experience about the First ADLX framework as teachers' professional development program. The research design employed was case study. For this design enabled investigation of complex phenomena programs in the real life context. The qualitative data were collected using the methods of focus group discussion, interview, and testimonials made by the teachers. On the other hand, the study used observation at 2 levels. First, observing the teachers during the course and taking notes. Second, by observing their teaching through video. So we had an interview session with the teachers and also with students, different teachers and students. And we also have observation where we went in classes trying to see how the teachers are implementing the First ADLX in the real life situation. So major findings from the data we had. One is that teachers mainly reported that the First ADLX framework is comprehensive and complies with various educational theories, models, and strategies with enrichment. 2, significant number of teachers were able to apply the principles and the strategies in their classroom directly and immediately after the professional program days were over. And number 3, students' feedback and overall experience were enhanced. So from the case studies, we have major themes as well as one here is academic competence and performance. So quoted, our academic performance regarding to the Rahma School has remarkably grown up and still growing within 2 years of implementation of First ADLX. Our school is now in the top 10 of the region. And astonishingly, the weak students are now among the best. The school overall academic performance is growing day and day. The previous 2 years in grade for national examination, our results had an average of C grade. And in this year, we have noticed a great changes in the achievement with an average of O grade. So from the graph here, within the 2 years of implementation, the school's overall academic performance is growing up day and day. The school is now in the top 10 in the region, the capital city of Tanzania. As you can see from the graph, the mini grade from 73 up to 90, having an A score in all subjects within the 2 years of implementing and applying the FAST framework. So this is one of the major themes. We have a very special case from one of the weakest students. Who was the weakest students in the new era? Previously, we had these two terminology, fast learners, slow learners. But in the new era, we are talking about learners who take long time to understand, not slow learners. So one day, I met a boy whose performance was not satisfactory, and I made a deal with him. I told him, when you get an average of A score, I will give you a gift. One day I was going around the school and the boy came to me running, calling, teacher, teacher. I stopped and gave him my attention. Then he told me, I have obtained an A score average, so give me my gift. From this, I learned that the framework allows development from very low to very high level of performance. This is from one of the teachers teaching in the Rahma schools. So he made a deal with the students that if you do this, then I'll give you a gift. And he used well the main focusing with the principles, trying to individualize with the learners, motivating him, and the learners struggle enough. He saw the teachers, he's encouraging me, I can share with him. And remarkably, these are the results. Just from being the weakest, among the weakest students, to scoring an A average. Other themes from the cases, adoption of the name Rahmanis from Rutsani. We remember that the school has adopted the name of Rahmanis, referred to Rahma school students. So instead of calling Rahma school students, they call themselves Rahmanis. We are the Rahmanis. And the Rutsani is a name which was adopted from, the Rahmanis adopted from the Rutsani, which is the famous icon for the Roots project, which refers to any youngster in the educational fields. So when you go to Rahma, expect to see a lot of Rahmanis. They say, hey, students, no one will give you attention. Say Rahmanis. Another theme is relationship, how the school, everyone in the schools interact to one another. We have teacher-teacher relationship, managers to teachers relationship, teacher to students relationship, how they relate to one another now, students to students, how do they relate to one another, teaching and non-teaching staffs, also how do they now relate to one another, school and parents relationship, and school and society relationship. Everyone is admitting now the relationship is very much positive. The teachers can sit together, discuss together, design together, discuss challenges together and solve everything. Teachers and students are now like the same group, discuss the same thing, speak the same language. Previously, these two groups were like antagonistic. Everyone was fearing of the other. Students were too feared to the teachers. Teachers used to walk with stick every now and then all over the school compound. You might think it is an grazing land, but it's a school. But now everyone is happy. The students are happy. The students see their teachers as friends, as their guardians, as their parents. They can discuss things together. And the school overall relationship is at its apex. Also, the schools and the society, the relationship is also superb. Apart from relationship, here we have some nice moments. Fostering the relationship between the teachers and students. For example, we have teachers here playing together with the students. We have students and students discussing together in class, seriously checking, helping one another, and so forth. Apart from relationship, we have other themes like confidence. Teachers and students, their level of confidence, teachers and students is now, it's remarkably, students can demonstrate the attitudes, skills, and knowledge confidently. teachers now perform their work in a very confident manner. Also, readiness in learning among students, the pupils, the Rahmanis are always ready now to appear for the session. Everyone don't want to miss class session. Students' motivation towards learning, it's a great change in entire school culture and interaction and cooperation among the school members. And when we're talking about the school culture, something noticeably, we noticed that the school culture, the culture of the school has changed. For example, students calling one another brothers and sisters, or when one drops a pen, another one will run and pick it for him or her, and appreciation will follow. The kids are too cooperative and love each other. We also treat everyone in a very positive way, and we challenge the negative attitude in a very positive. And thus gives room for the total transformation. We also give out seminars to the non-teaching staff on what we have acquired from first ADLX. And now everyone serving the best and ensuring the satisfaction of the school, of the pupils, and the rest customers like parents and the visitors. So the school culture now is like the same. Everyone in the school compound speaking the same language, kids loving each other, kids with the teacher now loves their kids. Everyone feel proud being Rahmanis. Everyone feels the school is the most safest place on earth. And when it comes to the issues of holiday, break, students will prefer to be in school. Even the day scholars now prefer to be both at school.
You want to complete safe environments. You have 1 minute to keep it safe.
Yes. So these are among the major themes we have discussed in these case studies. Also, we have the conclusion, recommendation, ethical consideration, and references. And just to give you a highlight that this is just a summary of the full case studies, and the full case studies detail all the themes, explain details. I think SeGa we will share it soon to every member, and globally everyone will have a chance to read in details each and everything. So that's what we have prepared from the Rahma School, from Brother Zinga and Dr. Baraka, and thank you, and now welcome for the Q&A.
Thanks a lot. Very well summarized, prepared, because the complete case studies are big enough. I want to start the first question. We have a lot of questions, actually. I want to start the first question from Dr. Noha. And that was my main question to Dr. Baraka when I visited the school. I asked the same question because for me, it was a surprise to find a lot of dimensions regarding the character development, the performance development, the relationship development, the culture development. So I asked the same question. Did the first framework impact? This is the question of Dr. Noha, and that was my question there. Is this the first framework impact? So my question to Dr. Baraka, the same question now. You have the question with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the nice question. Actually, yes. The answer is yes, because from the first framework, there is a domain of interacting, and we have interpreted the domain of interacting as a cultural building or cultural reformation strategy. So we have actually, when you have like a terminology like Rahmanis, look at it closely, see it's like it increases or promotes more of cohesion and brotherhood and love and respect and cooperation among all the community that is found in the school. So that is actually our understanding, and of course it can be like extrapolation because it has really gone outside the classroom. But to us, we have benefited and got inspired actually from the first framework directly. Yes, if I have to answer it in the same.
Okay, the second question from Mr. Byrne from France is a very good question regarding the impact on the community. So, hello?
hello. Yes. What was the question? Excuse me, if you can.
Oh, sorry. Do you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay. So the question from. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm there. I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Bakat. We can hear you.
Ashraf, Dr. Ashraf, can you read the question? Because I think
Yes,
that.
Sure. The question from Mr. Bernard France. Question to Zinga and Dr. Baraka. After leaving the school, what kind of life skills do you think students will go away with?
Well, thank you. I can see that one of the key skills that the kids will take away from school is that that no one is more proficient if works alone. Everybody needs the other one in some way. Yeah, this is one of the key things that the kids will take away from school. The school culture, the way they learn in the class, but the way they live in the school. That everybody is feeling okay and is feeling safe, is feeling functional in the social context. Besides of just working alone, yeah, there is this very big value on togetherness. Thank you.
Okay, another question, two questions in the same direction from Sister Dini, Indonesia, and Sister Fatma from Egypt. It's about the culture and about the question from the wordings of Miss Fatma. I'm eager to know more. How could you manage using first healthy environment and culture and eliminate what we call bullying? So it's about how first transform it from the classroom experience to the whole school experience.
Well, maybe it has taken a long time for designing and some more time, of course, making the things come into reality. We just designed some of the values that we like the school to embed on, and one of the key was like, okay, we need the school to have like cohesiveness, brotherhood, love, respect, name it. Then we said, okay, the first framework can help directly. We have to keep things like social, which the social event, that every small thing that can possibly be done by a group, it will end up be done by a group. And positive spirit, yes, we choose our language, we choose words to use, even when kids have caused some problems, behavioral, etc. We still handle it in a positive way because we believe like, okay, this positivity can translate in the kids' lives in the end. And another thing is, just I don't know how to put it. It's like making the kids, starting from the learners, but making the kids, I mean, starting from the teachers themselves, but making the kids realize that I am because we are. I am because we are. So this has been our move all the, I mean, here and there, every time we get opportunity to say, we is greater than I. We is greater than I. So slowly it has gone, and the kids are really living a different life now.
Yeah, and I remember when I visited the school and they took me to one of the walls in one of the empty classrooms and said, can you see this? I found the complete design of the complete journey as the D2 in the 60s. They designed the journey of the student, starting from the bus. So they have design activities in the bus, with the bus driver, with the bus supervisor, and in the standing and before going to the classrooms, and even between the breaks, they do design some behaviors from different people inside the school, not only from the teachers. So I found the language within the administrators, the staff, and not even the teachers. And they do have competitions or some sort of rewarding for the staff, not only from the teachers or the students. So I realized that it came by design. It's not a random transformation from classroom to the school culture. So it was by design. And finally, I would pick a question from Brother Rudy. He's saying Rahmanis is very interesting keyword. However, for whom the team Rahmanis is used? Is it used for students only or students and teachers, the term Rahmanis?
Well, from the design, it was meant for the kids. But in practice, it has gone even to the teachers. Now everybody said, all right, hey, Rahmanis. So it has gone beyond the expectation, beyond the design scope.
Yeah. And actually what Brother Dr. Barakas is saying right now, in every case study, we are finding what I can call it right now, the beyond learning outcomes. So we have the planned learning outcomes, and always we have a surprising effect that is coming out. So as it's designed to be for students, for example, and we found that it started to be used by our teachers in this school. So thanks a lot, Dr. Baraka, Brother Zinga, and we have a published case study, complete case study for their case. Again, 1 minute for Dr. Ashraf and 1 minute for Dr. Roy to wrap up and give insights and feedback.
Thanks, brothers and Rahmanis from Tanzania. Thank you so much. I do admire and I do appreciate two things actually: the deployment and the validation of the first framework itself, and deployment of new different research methodologies and research tools, reacting and collecting data using multiple qualitative components. These multiple qualitative components give much more stronger evidence of the application and much more stronger outcomes that should be published in a scientific paper, as we do agree. And inshallah, recently we can see it in a very successful publication within journals. Thank you. Thank you, Rahmanis.
Thanks, Dr. Ashraf. Dr. Roy. It's mute, Dr. Roy.
Again, very, very impressive work. I liked very much the 5 questions that you chose because they acknowledge that whenever we implement something in a complex system, there's never just one effect. And what's very interesting is the multiple positive effects that this has had on the culture, on the students, and on the staff. I was very impressed with the results on the national examination. As if I were a school administrator, those results would be very persuasive to me because they're completely independent validation of the impact. And I love the idea of getting everyone to speak a common language and thinking about the learner's experience, even beginning on the bus, and that we can't just think about the instructional staff, but we have to think about everyone who interacts with the students and with each other in a complex environment. Wonderful, wonderful work. Very impressive.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Roy, and thanks, Brother Dr. Baraka and Mr. Zinga.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you a lot for the compliments and congratulations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
A great thing to ask.
And now moving to our senior research team leader, Dr. Ashraf Sha'rawi. And this is one of the already published research. And he presented this research in the previous education conference in Thailand, I think 2 or 3 months back. It was supposed to be there in Thailand, but due to the corona, it transformed to be an online presentation for the whole conference. And I would like for all of you to make more attention, especially in this presentation, because Dr. Ashraf will present for newcomers into this event a quick introduction about the learner experience and about the first framework, as well as an intro to this validation paper. So the mic with you, Dr. Ashraf.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, according to your place of the world. My name is Ashraf Sha'rawi. I'm an MBA holder and DBA candidate, and I'm also a researcher in the field of education and training. Today we will talk about the impact or validating the impact of FIRST framework for teacher professional development program with a case study from Roots program. Our presentation will start with what we call it the problem definition, which is the teacher professional development challenges, and then the ADLX approach, the Roots case study, and then the research objectives, the methodology, and the findings. Well, the challenge that face teacher professional development, according to many researchers, such as Kennedy 2005, are lack of connection with the actual classroom settings and day-to-day educational practices, as well as overlooking, most of the trainers overlook the previous knowledge and experience of the teachers. Also, TPD programs do not provide follow-up with teacher after the program ends. So most of the literature suggests that the TPD should combine face-to-face training, coaching and mentoring, as well as community of practice, according to Kenny 2005. Also, according to Bahgat and his colleagues, teachers should live the learning experience as learners in order to be able to convey it to their students and to enhance their learner experience. Well, let's start with the literature review about the era of experience, which is the experience economy. It's a concept which has been suggested by Bine and Gilmer 1998, and they considered the fourth stage of economic offerings besides the three economic offerings, the commodity, the goods, and the services. They suggested that experience offering is memorable and enjoyable when it constitutes or it contains active participation from either the customer or the participants of whatever the activity or the service. Since that introduction of the concept, it has been extended to many other dimensions in business and in education, like the customer experience, reader experience, patient experience, user experience. And in the learner experience movement, as you see, the role of teachers transferred from on the side of the curriculum and content into a learner experience design, and from lecturing teaching into learner experience facilitation. So it's from experience to a learner experience. There is another layer, which is the active deep learner experience. It adds the active learning and the deep learning. Active learning includes engagement, participation, involvement, and the motivation of the participants, and here they are the learners. The deep learning encourages them to understand and to search for the deep meaning and to make the transformation and also reflect on what they are learning. So the extra layer above the learner experience is the active deep learner experience. And here comes the first framework that has been introduced by Bahgat and his colleagues. It contains 5 domains: the focusing, the interacting within group dynamics, reviewing, sequencing, and transforming. And here the word transforming in first terminology is equivalent to the expression of transfer of learning into performance in most of the educational literature. So we now reach to the top of the layer of the experience, which is the first framework for the learner experience. Now we'll explore with you the case study which has taken place in Roots program. Roots program is a collaboration between NAMA Foundation and SeGa. The program consists of 4 phases, as a matter of fact. Phase 1 is the micro learning. It contains online micro videos and micro literature in order to be submitted to the learners. Phase 2 is a training days, which is face-to-face training, where every participant of the program comes to Malaysia in order to attend the face-to-face training. And phase 3 contains mentoring and coaching the project okay. Phase 4 is online COP program. that contains some social groups and interacting between the learners themselves and sometimes with their mentors and coaches. This program has taken place over blended system containing face-to-face and also containing the learning management system. The demographics of the participants of the program participants were 107. They have been divided into 5 groups. They are from 8 countries, 62 male, 45 females. Most of them are teachers holding bachelor degree. 26 of them are master's degrees, 8 of them are PhD degrees. The research objective of the program is to explore the perception of teachers about the relevance of FIRST framework as a teacher professional development program, and to discover the impact of FIRST framework on teachers after finishing the root professional development program. Also exploring impact of FIRST on students' experience after applying FIRST in the classroom, and to investigate the impact of FIRST framework on schools and educational organization after applying it. The methodology that we have used in this research is a case study methodology, which is as suggested by Croswell 2009 and Yen 2014. This methodology is very appropriate for a program or an intervention like what we have, the educational intervention, because it taps into the experience of the participants, as they call it, the thick description, where the participants describe deeply their insights and experiences about the program and its effect on them. We analyzed the data, we collected qualitative data and quantitative data as well in order to make triangulation, which gives more reliability and validity for the data collected according to Lincoln and Guba 1994. We collected these data through survey and testimonials, through observation, and also the quantitative surveys. From the data analysis, I mean here the qualitative data analysis, we have some emergent themes from this data that we have captured in this graph that you see. From the active deep learner experience, most of the participants reported about living the experience as learner enhanced their experience and inspired them. They also expressed or emphasized that this experience was active and deep as well. For the relevance of FIRST as a teacher professional development, most of the participants commented that FIRST is a theory into transfer. And actually one of the participants literally said FIRST transfers the theories of education into practice, and it also makes the job of the teacher guided. So FIRST framework as a guiding framework, and one of the participants also make a metaphor about FIRST. He make an analogy with the GPS. He stated that FIRST framework, just like the GPS that guide the teacher to navigate through the time and the context of the classroom with the students. Also, they reported that they considered FIRST framework as a holistic framework. During the program itself, through the observation, we found the teachers are very engaged with the either facilitator and the co-facilitator and mentors and coaches. And also we have noticed that they have a mindset transformation. And here we suggest that or claim that transformative learning is about the mindset transfer of the teachers from just being a teacher or lecturer into a learning facilitator. After that, most of the participants reported their intention to apply. One of the participants at the end of the program said that I'm dying to go to return to my home place in order to apply what I've learned into my classroom. After returning to their classroom, most of the respondents or attendees of the program reported that they already applied FIRST in their classroom. they reported that it's considered as a teacher career development. On the level of student, the teacher reported their notes about applying first in the classrooms. They reported their notes about student deep learning, active learning as well, and the enhanced experience of their student during the sessions. And on the level of the organization and the schools, as you might have seen before in the previous two presentations, there are impact of first on the schools. Some schools have adapted first framework as a pedagogy for their learning with their students. For the quantitative data, we asked the participants about the relevance of the first framework as a TPD for them. As you might see, most of the participants inclined into agreeing and strongly agreeing that it's relevant as a TPD program. This is also a survey about applying first in the classroom. Here also, 81.2% of the participants reported that they applied first. By the way, this survey has been conducted just after the face-to-face program and within the mentoring and coaching phase of the program itself. To conclude the finding and conclusions, first framework is a comprehensive and compiles various educational theories, models, and strategies. Teachers were able to apply the principle and strategies in their classrooms directly and immediately after the professional program days were over. The students' feedback and overall experience were enhanced. Some schools adopted first framework as a pedagogy in their organization, as we said. Thank you, and I hope I didn't exceed my time slot, and waiting for your questions.
Thanks, Dr. Ashraf. It's very hard to live in the 0-0 culture and exceed your time, so thank you. We are waiting if you have any questions regarding this case. And as you see, we are adopting, most of the cases are more into mixed methods, having some quantitative and qualitative data. And this is guided by Dr. Ashraf Safti, of course, to have this two dimensions of data gathering and approaches. And if I use any wrong terms in research methodologies, I'm not a guy of research methodologies. So anything related to scientific research methodologies, take it from Dr. Ashraf. And if you want to take anything related to first, I can add value in this area. So Dr. Noah said, may I ask about the nature of the participants and the context? So this is the question about the context and nature of participants in this study, Dr. Ashraf Sha'rawi.
Well, the participants of this program are all educators. As I explained in the slide of the demographics, they were 107. Most of them are holding bachelor degree in education. Some of them has master's and PhD as well. This is about the participants of the program. The context, it was about the teacher professional development in order to transfer teachers or educators from just educators who convey knowledge into learning facilitator to allow the learners to construct their own learning and to use their previous knowledge and previous experience in order to construct the new learning and new experience. And the very important thing is to transform or transfer what they have learned into application either in the classroom as a teacher and educator, and for the students into their work or their life in the real situation, as we have saw during the presentation of our sister Hanan. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, there is a question from my side. I want you to emphasize more about the theme of teacher when living the experience and how this helped them into transferring the experience into the classroom. And that was the theme of our latest paper or presentation in Rawafid conference in Lebanon, that the effect or the impact of teacher experience as learner experience as teacher experience into the learner experience. So in this case, that was one of the findings. So if you can clarify or emphasize more about teacher living as a learner, the same experience that we want them to transfer experience in the classroom with the kids.
Well, thank you, Engineer Bagat. About the teacher experience as learner, it's very important because when teachers stands in the shoes of learner and they live the experience with the facilitator of the program, they started to see the effect of the two ways communication between the learner and the facilitator, and how they as learners used their previous and experience to construct their own learning during the program itself. And that made them to make some very important thing in the training, which is the transformative learning. It's a theory proposed by Ms. Rowe 1990, which says that in order to change the behavior of the teachers, you should first change their mindset. So living the experience, for the teacher to live the experience as learner contributed very much for the mindset transformation of them. And consequently, they adopted the philosophy of being a facilitator, not being a lecturer or only one way of presenting and giving one-way lessons or one-way information.
Okay. There is a question here, but I think it's not only for Ashraf, Dr. Ashraf. It could be the same question for Ms. Hanan and brothers Zinga as well. So whoever want to answer this question will be good. How long did it take the educators to feel difference in their organization? How long did it take the educators to feel difference in the organization? So I think if we can have answers from Hanan, Sister Hanan and Brother Zinga before moving into Dr. Ashraf. So how do you think, how long did it take to transform this into a cultural issue into the organization itself? Organization, I think, means the school.
I think it's still, we're still undergoing the process. Yani, the changes started as with the moment I started with the soft skills, until now we're noticing we're undergoing the process, still undergoing. But this change has just started with the moment with root soft skills. I want to mention something that some teachers were already true educators. My focus was on other teachers in order to make them adopt this mindset of being better educators. Some for being true educators, others for being better educators. But the change has started, and we're still the process is still going.
Okay, Zinga.
Yes, from the 4 days of face-to-face session. With the nice teachers, we emphasize the domains, focusing. So it's like we were singing together in class, in prayer parade, in everywhere. So the whole school busted in shouting. So gradually we keep on emphasizing what exactly we mean. So it was a gradual process. It just came at once, no, and it's still under transformation. So it's need a lot of designing, a lot of commitment, needs a lot of time also.
Okay, so but for someone like Miss Fatma and Dr. Noha Nagi, that are new schools, they maybe want to adopt the concept. So they are very keen. It's some of days, weeks, months, years, centuries. So but yeah, it needs time and it needs effort. But the beautiful thing that I can grab from their answers, that you start to see differences directly from inside the training room itself, from inside the journey itself. Yes, it's not a full transformation, but you realize some changes starting from the journey of the teacher development, and it moves forward across the organization. I don't know if Dr. Ashraf Sharawi want to add anything here?
Yes, actually we have monitored the impact of first on the teachers through the face-to-face sessions, And it started with the intention to apply that we have presented as a theme. The intention precedes the behavior. So it can be a proxy to the behavior. And after that, we found them behaviorally applying this. And also, we've made an unpublished yet paper with a measuring scale. We got it from the literature about learning transfer into performance. And we have found from this measure scale that in order for the teachers to apply in their schools, there are many other factors and variables that affect this transfer. Number one is the organization itself, the management of the school, even the colleagues of the teacher. They might encourage him or discourage him. The management itself, it might reward the teacher who applies, or I don't want to say it, or mocking or something like that. You are applying, this is a new thing, we have used to use the traditional way, this thing. So in order to monitor it, it is not an easy way to say they will apply at the very moment. Actually, they have the intention, they go with the behavior to apply, but the effect of the environment of the school, the organization, the management, the colleagues, everything affects the transfer. And we have measured this actually, as I said, and we are preparing to publish the results of this survey through a paper very soon, inshallah.
Yes, and as I said, Dr. Noah Nagy is looking forward for the school culture, and she is proposing a new research to try to see the factors that affecting implementing first in the school culture thing. But again, don't think that just we are saying we are publishing or in our way to publish or collecting. This is really great efforts and huge efforts. We are just presenting some keywords, but some of those slides takes years to put the research design, to collect the data, to organize the data, and to see themes. So again, it's some efforts. And we are encouraging and motivating ourselves first, and all of the cloud members here to synergize, as we said earlier, synergize together. And we are trying to think of every implementation and application as a research project. This is our mindset that is embedded from early beginning by Dr. Ashraf, that try to document, try to gather data, try to put the research design. And now, as we are moving to the publishing theme, Dr. Ashraf Safni and Ashraf Sha'arawi trying to put some templates and the basic research training or workshops to help even non-researchers to participate into the research efforts as much as possible. So our efforts all together, inshallah, moving forward, to better more and more measuring impact and trying to add value to this domain of social educational impact domain, inshallah. Again, I do apologize for all the chat area, but we want to move forward to the closure activity. So again, just before moving to the closing activity, I want to give mic to Dr. Ashraf. 1 minute, Dr. Ashraf, then to Dr. Roy to finish this paper presentation of Dr. Ashraf Sha'arawi.
Thank you, Bagat. Thank you, Sha'arawi. When we actually say research center or the research cloud of SeGa, we say the circulatory system. Then within the heart of the circulatory system, you will find Sha'arawi. So Sha'arawi is the actual heart of the circulatory system. He is the one pushing the blood and pushing the usefulness to the system. So thank you again for the excellence. And this is another validating paper for the total framework supporting Dr. Amal Farahat efforts, applying first remotely in Lebanon. So we hope so that we can deploy several things in a very comprehensive way within the same methodology in a very comprehensive templates. So again, the templates, the structure, the research, linking the practice to the science. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks a lot. Dr. Roy?
And I just wanted to also say thank you. And I thought the model you showed of the data analysis, that showed the relationship between the various components was very important. That we first have to motivate the teachers, engage them so that they will have the intent to transfer. Then it sounds like you're doing very interesting work now on, all right, I have the intent to transfer, I'm excited about this, but then the environment in which I work can make that either allow me to exercise that intent or make it very difficult for me. So as we continue the studies, that keeping the idea that there are multiple factors that interact over time, and to maximize the cultural impact, we need to manage all of those factors, or at least be aware of them. So I think that the model of showing sort of the causal impact is a very important idea.
Okay, thanks a lot. Now we have a few minutes, 5 minutes. I would like to encourage some of you to open the mic, open the camera, and to start giving some feedback about the event. So please, instead of calling by name, I need at least one from every country. So if one wants to be the ambassador of his country in the Research Cloud, so please open the... Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Bahjat, would you please read what Ms. Lena Zamzam wrote as a witness from our school?
Okay, so can you read it, please?
Yes, okay. Being part, she's a teacher, she's English language teacher and supervisor, and the one who played an important role in writing the case study. Being part of the whole experience at Al Ufuk Al Jadid School, we could sense that there is this change after attending soft skills workshop, and this change has expanded after getting introduced to first ADLX program as a whole. So basically, it took around the 3 months when seriously the program was implemented. However, as Ms. Hanan said, still it is in progress. We keep on reminding ourselves and each. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sister Lena. She is, as Sister Hanan said, she is a co-researcher for what have been published by Sister Hanan. She edited a lot of the case studies presented and published. So thank you, and we are waiting to publish your own paper and your own case study away from Sister Hanan. Not she can only supervise, but we are waiting for your own case studies, inshallah. So again, I can see brothers from Malaysia opening the camera. So do you want to add any insights?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night from Malaysia. We are. Today I have nothing to share, but this session tonight very refreshing. Mind motivate me to do harder than before. Inshallah.
Yeah,
really motivating
a lot. You implemented a lot of good implementations in Malaysia, so we're waiting for your case studies to be presented soon as well. And we can see the night in Malaysia and New York every morning. So. Thank you. So anyone want to add any feedback? We're waiting for people from, we have people from Kyrgyzstan here as well, from Russia, beside Russia, I mean, Kyrgyzstan, Indonesia, Egypt. We can take some insights from Egypt. Should I call for names?
Cool.
Oh, Kyrgyzstan. Sister Habiba.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm very glad, very happy to meet with you. even online, I'm very glad. Thank you. Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you a lot.
Really, I miss this first framework, really. I miss to work with this framework. And now, teacher is, as you say, Mr. Bahjat, teacher is not just given knowledge. Teacher also has to teach the humanity, to be human. This is the most function which has to do the teacher now. in our center now. That's why really it's very important and very good framework, very good, very easy to use for teacher also, which you compose in one framework. Really, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I always appreciate the conversation with our sister Habiba, because English is her 5th language. So it's not the 2nd or 3rd language. English is her 5th language. So for yes. So Mr. Brook is a great expert in intercultural training and the intercultural. This is a case study. She participated in first framework training with English, while English is her 5th language from her country. So before moving into the closing, I shouldn't close this event before giving the mic to 2 of the main important talents in the R&D and research cloud. And I'm here just only presenting and showing off that I'm doing something. But actually the main efforts beside Dr. Ashraf Safti and Ashraf Sharawi, Dr. Ashraf Sharawi, I will give the mic 1 minute for brother Abdullah. Abdullah is the main coordinator of the research center and now the research cloud coordinator. And he's doing 24-hour by 7. As you see, we are doing research cases across the globe. So he's following up across this. So Abdullah, you have 30 seconds to 1 minute.
30 seconds is enough. I'm very happy to be part of this event. I'm glad for gathering all this work, which is impressing, for presenting what our master facilitators are doing in their countries. They are doing a great job. Only coordinating and gathering their work is so simple work for their effects. I'm really glad for being in this position. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Abdullah. We are glad being with you today. This is your celebration of your efforts. So thanks a lot. And finally, going to Ahmed Yusri. Ahmed Yusri is the executive manager of SeGa now, and he's the main executive manager of research efforts during the previous 3 years. So he's managing the whole function from the project management and operation management perspective. So again, Ahmed, you have 45 seconds, sorry, 45 seconds.
Okay. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all so much. Really, I'm so proud of you and your team. Thanks, Dr. Roy, for being with us and presenting the amazing frameworks with you. You hear me, right? Okay. Also, thanks for all presenters, Ms. Hanan, Dr. Berka, Brother Zinga, and Dr. Ashraf Sharawi for their great and awesome presentations. And finally, we'd like to thank Abdullah for organizing this event, and Dr. Ashraf, Mr. Bahgat, and all for being with us. And see you, inshallah, in the next meeting.
Thanks a lot. It's now 4:29. So we'll give you 1 minute bonus to move before 4:30 Cairo time. It's 2:30 UK or Greenwich time. And every one of you in every country can calculate from the Greenwich time his own time right now. So thanks a lot for your participation. Thanks a lot for your persistence to stay for 2.5 hours for research and presenting and listening to each other, discussing this great work. Thanks a lot. I will not talk a lot to have 4:30 sharp. Thanks a lot. See you all in the coming Global Research Cloud event. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks a lot.
Okay, please, we would like to take a photo. Okay?
Photo?
Yes.
So a group photo, if you want
a group
to
photo, yeah.
mic for a group photo, please.
Okay.
3,
2, 1.
So this is the digital group photo.
This is the first page of participants, and this second page. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. See you all together.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. Thank you.
Dr. Roy, thanks a lot for your presence and your contribution for the whole 2.5 hours. And we'll keep you posted with other questions maybe.
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf, for inviting me. Thank you a lot.
شكرا يا أستاذ عبد الله.
Allah, welcome. Bernd.
Bye-bye.
Is it hot in Paris right now?
No. Not compared to Egypt.
No, don't compare to Middle East. I'm talking absolute Paris.
No, it's okay. It's bearable.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was great.
Thank you. It's our pleasure joining us.
Sister Habiba, thanks for being with us. باشمهندسة ميس فاطمة، أهلا وسهلا بحضرتك. دكتور أحمد زرقاني، زوركس.
Well, thanks for the invitation. It was very informative. Actually, what I liked most, and on emphasizing on the behavior as well as the educational process. I liked it the most. I wish to be part of this team, inshallah.
Very soon, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you later. Bye.
Fatma was my colleague in Faculty of Engineering, and I found that she is now the math teacher of my youngest son, Ismail. Ismail. So she's math teacher of Ismail in Notion School. Yeah. Okay, Zorix, any feedback? أنت معانا؟ أوكي بقى واضح راحتك. اوكي دكتور اشرف، جزاك الله خير وربنا يكرمك.
ربنا يكرمك، شكرا جزيلا.
البريباريشن
ربنا يكرمك.
وفرق كتير جدا 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 في البرزنتيشن.
الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله.
يلا نكونتينيو.
ويل دان يا شباب. شكرا يا عبد الله. شكرا يا عبد الله.
حبيبي السلام عليكم.
ربنا يبارك لك يا بهجت. ربنا يبارك فيك.
اشوفكم على خير ان شاء الله. السلام عليكم.
شكرا يا شعراوي.